Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. The Washington Commanders are urged to trade for a WR who wouldn't overlap with Terry McLaurin. The Pittsburgh Steelers put the biggest piece of their offense in place this week, officially signing Aaron Rodgers after weeks of speculation about the veteran quarterback's plans. The Steelers could now go to work building the offense around Rodgers, with one insider naming them as a top contender to add a two-time Pro Bowler who is expected to hit the trade block. The Steelers had already made a pair of big moves in their wide receiver room, with more changes expected before the season starts. Steelers could be top landing spot for Terry McLaurin. Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox named the Steelers as one of the most likely destinations for Washington Commanders star Terry McLaurin, who is expected to hit the trade block as his contract talks with the team hit an impasse. Knox suggested that the Steelers could land McLaurin for a 2026 first-round pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick, noting that they may need one more star receiver to become a true Super Bowl contender. Though Rodgers had a largely forgettable season with the Jets in 2024, he was coming back from a torn Achilles, Knox wrote. In theory, the 41-year-old will be an upgrade over last year's duo of Fields and Russell Wilson. If the Steelers hope to make a legitimate run at a Super Bowl with Rodgers, however, they should look for all of the receiver help they can get. While it may be a high price to pay, the Steelers signaled that they are all in for a Super Bowl run this season after signing Rodgers to a one-year contract. The team overhauled the offense, parting ways with veteran quarterback Russell Wilson and Justin Fields to pave the way for Rodgers to sign. The Steelers already added wide receiver DK Metcalf this offseason, landing him in a trade with the Seattle Seahawks, but also shipped out George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys. Knox suggested that McLaurin would be a good addition and would fit particularly well with Rodgers. McLaurin, who is a pristine route runner who can attack all areas of the field, would complement Rodgers well, Knox wrote. Terry McLaurin's unclear future in Washington. McLaurin appears headed for a split from the Commanders after talks on a new contract hit a wall. NFL insider Jordan Schultz reported that McLaurin separated himself from the team, with no sign of when he might return. Sources: #Commanders All-Pro WR. Terry McLaurin has made it clear to the team that he's frustrated with the lack of progress on a long-term deal, Schultz shared in a post on X. As I previously reported, McLaurin unexpectedly left voluntary workouts after initially attending, and it remains to be seen whether he'll report for mandatory minicamp. McLaurin is entering the final year of his contract. Talks have been minimal. McLaurin is going into the final year of his 3-year, $68.4 million contract extension. He has been a model of consistency for the Commanders, topping 1,000 receiving yards in each of the last 5 seasons and falling just short in his rookie season with 919 receiving yards. He also caught 13 touchdowns last year, a career high. As NFL teams gear up for mandatory minicamp, the Pittsburgh Steelers are putting the finishing touches on their 90-man summer roster. But one surprising roster move could alter their plans. On Monday, the Green Bay Packers cut two-time Pro Bowl cornerback Jaire Alexander, NFL insider Ian Rappaport reports. The impressive cornerback is officially on the free agent market, and multiple NFL teams will be intrigued. This move comes just days after the Steelers officially signed quarterback Aaron Rodgers to a one-year contract for the 2025 season. With a 41-year-old quarterback at the helm, Pittsburgh's front office will do everything in its power to string together a roster that can compete for the playoffs now. Now, Alexander instantly becomes the top free agent available. But does he make sense for the Steelers? The Pittsburgh Steelers just had a Pro Bowl cornerback fall into their lap, and one who played his best football when Aaron Rodgers was his quarterback, no less. But as good as he still is, the Steelers may be forced to pass on signing the talented starting cornerback. At 28 years old, Alexander should still be in the prime of his NFL career. Sadly, Alexander has been riddled with injuries. Over the past 4 seasons, Alexander managed to play more than 7 games in a season just once. Shockingly, Alexander has missed as many games, 34, as he has played with the Packers over the past 4 seasons. In 2023 and 2024, the star cornerback combined to play in just 14 regular season contests while dealing with shoulder and groin injuries. In addition to the lengthy injury history, Steelers were at forefront of teams showing interest in Buccaneers Wr. Chris Godwin in free agency, though the Pittsburgh Steelers ultimately swung a big trade and handed out a massive extension to star wide receiver DK Metcalf prior to the start of free agency. The Steelers under GM Omar Khan were searching high and low at the receiver position entering the offseason and had their eyes seemingly set on one receiver ahead of free agency before pivoting. That would be Tampa Bay Buccaneers and former Penn State star receiver Chris Godwin. In a profile piece from The Athletic's Dan Pompei Monday morning, Godwin revealed that the Steelers were among the teams interested in him before he ultimately chose to re-sign with the Buccaneers on a 3-year, $66 million deal, which came 2 days after the Steelers swung a trade for Metcalf and handed him a 5-year, $150 million extension. But 4 other teams wanted Godwin, with the Patriots and Steelers at the forefront, according to Godwin. Pompei writes regarding the Steelers' interest in Godwin. Leading up to the new league year, the Steelers were connected to Godwin multiple times. Pro Football Focus believed Godwin was the ideal slot option for the Steelers in offensive coordinator Arthur Smith's scheme, while the 33rd team also believed Godwin and the Steelers were a great fit. Even Steelers Depot's Ross McCorkle had Godwin ranked highly among the possible WR options this offseason for the Steelers. After going through the 2024 season with plenty of issues at the receiver position behind George Pickens, the Steelers set out to rectify that in a big way in the offseason. Godwin was seemingly in that conversation time and time again. But the one downside with Godwin was that he was coming off a significant injury, having suffered a dislocated ankle, broken fibula and torn tendons in ankle following a tackle from Baltimore's Roquan Smith in a primetime game in Week 7. At the time of the injury, Godwin was among the league leaders with 50 receptions for 576 yards and 5 touchdowns. But that tackle from Smith and the subsequent injury ended Godwin's season, putting his status in jeopardy in free agency at 28 years old. Despite the injury, the Steelers were right there with teams showing significant interest in the veteran receiver. Ultimately, Godwin left plenty of money on the table, signing the 3-year, $66 million deal to remain in Tampa Bay. 2 days prior to Godwin re-signing with the Buccaneers though, the Steelers pivoted, swinging a trade with the Seattle Seahawks to land Metcalf, then quickly handing him the extension, breaking their own precedent in the process. The Steelers are better off, at least on paper, with Metcalf over Godwin, considering the style of play, and the limited injury history from Metcalf compared to Godwin, who has torn an ACL, suffered the serious ankle injury, and had various hamstring and hand ailments throughout his career. It's fun to think about what could have been though, considering Godwin's production and consistency throughout his career, and how that potential acquisition by the Steelers could have shaped their offseason, not having had to give up a second-round pick to land him like they did with Metcalf.